was awesome.
Yes, the Wilpons are horrible people.
That was awesome.
The immortal words of John Sebastian. Welcome back. We are back. We are the BallNine Roundhouse, and it's a pleasure to be back. It's been a long off season, and now we're ready to go again. I would like to introduce our panel today. We have Mike Scudiero, host of Yapping Yankees, of BallNine fame now, which is great. Welcome, Mike Scudiero.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Kevin Czerwinski, author of Can of Corn, and the guy who Wilbur Wood hung up on. Kevin, how's it going, brother?
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Good, man. Good. And Rocco Constantino, our ombudsman. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Good. How's everything going?
Not bad. Not bad. I was going to say, you got the Garrett Cole hair going on. You called it the Grom. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
What do you got a haircut?
Yeah, what do you got, a fresh dye job going on there?
The
lead off. So, gentlemen, I do want to start off by talking about the Yankees and the Mets, because Mike, you obviously, your podcast is the Yankees. Rocco, you're a Mets fan. Kevin, you covered the Mets for how many years for MLB.com?
5.
All right. Why'd you say that so sheepishly?
You know what? It was a while ago. So, most of my venom and my hate towards the team left when the Wilpons sold it. So,
man, were they that bad?
They were horrible human beings. They still are, but I think I might have told you this story. There was a guard who was very friendly and nice, and he's a retired New York City cop at Shea Stadium. He used to tell stories and everything else. And
the elevator guy?
Yeah, and yeah. Jeff Trent, after a loss, he's telling jokes and talking in the elevator. It's taking people down from the Diamond Club. And Jeff got on the elevator, and here's the guy joking, and the guy, he didn't like it, and Jeff transferred him to right field the next day.
What an ass.
So that kind of stuff. Plus, he was not the most popular person with the employees at the time. Nelson Doubleday couldn't stand him.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, geez.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and after a while, Nelson couldn't stand Fred either. So.
All right. Well, this is off on an uplifting note, so that's great.
So, but that, listen, that's all water under the bridge, and you have Steve Cohen there now, who, while he talked big in the fall when he took over, I don't necessarily think he's done all that much to improve the team.
See, I disagree. You don't think that getting Lindor and McCann? I mean, I think those are great moves.
No,
you don't
I think getting
he
Lindor,
should have gotten Springer.
No, I think
agree that he should have gotten Springer.
Listen, I think getting Lindor is a great move. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fantastic. I think he's one of the top 5 guys in the game. But 38 seconds after you made that trade, you should have had him signed.
Yeah.
And now, if they let this go into free agency, they're not going to get him back.
Oh, yeah. No, it's true.
I mean, and it's not like they give up a lot for him anyway. And if you really think about it.
Who did they give up? Ahmed Rosario?
Yeah, and Jimenez.
Who I like, and I like Rosario. I mean, Rosario's a solid player.
They have no center fielder. They have no left fielder. They have no third baseman. And they have, and while it's not going to be anything this year, they got to deal with Cano's contract next year. So what you're going to hear from Sandy next year is, well, we can't sign anybody because we have to pay Cano.
Yeah.
And who knows if they're going to re-sign Conforto. And if you look at their rotation, you have DeGrom. Stroman, I always thought was a mediocre pitcher to begin with, and they made a big deal when they got him, and he was a mediocre pitcher to begin with. Plus that nonsense he pulled last year. He got his service time, and then all of a sudden he opts out for COVID.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. You just got blocked on Twitter by him, by the way, just so you know. Just so you joined the club. He's blocked, I think, all of us, so it's great.
Well, I think he's mediocre. I think he's a 500 4 ERA pitcher at best. I mean, yeah. you may get 13 wins out of him. I mean,
he's a solid number 4, number 5.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he's not a number 2, which is where he slots in right now.
Yeah.
I like Peterson. I like the fact that they actually let Peterson pitch last year, despite the fact that circumstance dictated they had him pitch. But he seems like he's got a little bit of moxie. He's one of those kind of goofball, junk baller types who's not going to overpower anybody. But he's smart and he knows how to get guys out.
Yeah.
But he's also not a number one guy.
Yeah.
And you look at all the other back end of the rotation garbage. They signed Yamamoto, and he's gone, and Lucchesi, another 500 4 ERA guy, and
those guys are young still, though. Jordan Yamamoto's a young guy. Lucchesi's a young guy.
You know what?
Plus, Joey Lucchesi, playing in New York.
Listen,
come on.
Look at their numbers in the minor leagues. You are what you are.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
If you can't get guys out at AA and you can't get guys out at AAA, you're not going to get guys out at the major league.
That's a hell of a point.
And putting all your eggs in this Syndergaard basket. Oh, he'll be back in June. Well, first of all, he's going to come back. They're not going to let him pitch a whole lot when he comes back.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's going to come back and throw 8 innings every game, every 4th or 5th day. So, and frankly, he got hurt all the time when he wasn't before this injury.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really all that great the last year that he pitched for them.
It's actually true. Nobody wants to admit it.
So
they like his hair.
Yeah. So, enough with the whole Thor image and all the nonsense. How's about you just worry about pitching?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
And so you look at their rotation, and honestly, Carrasco with a torn hamstring. Well, I think that was a better part of the Lindor trade than actually Lindor, because I think he's somebody who can be here for a little bit, and
he'll give you innings if he can stay healthy.
But he's not going to be back till at least June, pitching or throwing until at least June. So you figure he's not going to be back until July, and who the heck knows how effective he's going to be? And they're going to be filling in. And I'm not saying they need to go out and get Trevor Bauer, because I didn't want to spend $40 million a year on Trevor Bauer. And I think the Dodgers already have buyer's remorse. The season hasn't even started, and they have buyer's remorse.
I like what Kernan referred to him as the MAP, most annoying player in baseball.
Yeah. And
it's like, do you really want to deal with that? You don't want to. You're already the Mets. You don't want to fucking deal with that. Come on.
No, why Familia is still on the team? Steve Cohen has more money than God. Just cut Familia, buy him out, tell him to go away.
Yeah, be done with him.
They have a lot. Their bullpen is improved. I don't think it's the Yankees bullpen when they had all those guys a couple of years ago, Chapman
and the Yankees bullpen is also hurting. Right now.
This year,
that's something I want to. That's something I want to bring up with Mike. Is that okay? So we know what the issues are with the Mets rotation and bullpen now, but the Yankees rotation, like we were just saying, I was like, we're looking at 2 guys that have thrown 1 inning combined over the last 2 years, and Taillon and Kluber. Yes, you have a couple Cy Youngs with Kluber. Is it feasible to think that these guys can come back to their old form? And what are they going to give the Yankees? Is Taillon going to be on an innings limit? Is Kluber going to be on an innings limit? Are we looking at the Java rules again with these 2 now? So, Mike, I wanted to ask you that. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, if anything Java related happens again, I'll just jump off my roof. But anyway,
midges.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, with Kluber and Taillon, the thing is, that ever since Taillon was traded for and Kluber is signed, I've more believed in them than not, even though there is definitely risk attached to them. I definitely wouldn't be as dumb to not acknowledge that. But, but the fact that there is history with Kluber, and the fact that he had just an unbelievable clean bill of health from all these people in the industry. And yes, that's really what we're riding on. I'll admit it. But so a big part of that is that. But I would like to think that Brian Cashman and the Yankees did not go out and spend $11 million on someone they weren't absolutely sure was healthy. I'd like to think that.
I agree. They could have had Tanaka for that price.
And Tanaka, actually, I don't know if you heard that today. Tanaka is hurt himself right now. He got a calf injury. Yeah. I read that. So it's the injuries are going to happen a lot this year, especially given last year. Just we should all get prepared for that. If you're not, just get ready for it. It's already starting. But I don't know. I just given Kluber's past and the fact that there is upside despite age, especially upside with Taillon, considering he's still only 29. Plenty of pitchers have bounced back well from Tommy John surgery, especially when they're young. But so I'm honestly, because of that, I do believe that Kluber can have. There's some people that have been like concerned with how he's looked at times. Like there have been some hard outs against him. Listen, as long as they're outs to me, they're outs. Whatever.
Well, again, Kluber's one of those guys. He'll pitch the contact. Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like
he's not a strikeout pitcher. He never
exactly.
was. I mean, he's like I don't know. Do I want to bring up Frank Tanana? I don't know.
Frank Tanana was a strikeout pitcher. No, Frank Tanana
right,
a lot of strikeouts.
Shit. Then who am I thinking of? Viola? I don't know. Somebody Frank. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'll edit that. Fine.
The point is, like, and you're right. There were a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's getting hard outs. He's not throwing as hard." I'm like, guys, did we forget that Kluber is a sinker and slider pitcher? Like, he doesn't throw for velo. Like, what are we talking about here?
And that brings us to the defense of the Yankees and the guy who the Yankees are keeping around for defensive purposes and speed, Tyler Wade, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Wade. Probably the worst 26th man on any roster that I can think of right now. Please tell us how he's doing tonight, Mike.
Horrible. He has 2 errors already, and they happened on 2 batters in a row, just so you know. So that's just
really? There were 2 plays in a row?
Yeah, I heard it because the game's not televised, so I didn't know for sure. But there was somebody that said at least one of the hits was actually like really hard hit. But hey, if he's such a defensive god, why doesn't he make the play? But
Ozzie Smith wouldn't drop it.
Yeah, listen, people defending Tyler Wade kind of drives me. The guy couldn't hit a beach ball with a boat oar. And
no.
when you look at when you look at the defense, he's only ever been fine defensively to me. Like he's okay, he's whatever.
He's all right.
But like I'm not going to say he's bad because he's not. He's not a bad defenseman. But I mean the way that some people talk about him defensively, you think he's some sort of defensive god. And I hate to break it to you if you're a Tyler Wade fan, he's not. So and as far as the speed, we were just saying this before we started, but I could take any average Joe off the street, you know, that's just typically a very fast runner and just plop him in there because he's there for his defense and speed, so they say.
Yeah.
And it's just my patience has run out with him, and even like the sight of a single strikeout at the plate or a single error on defense is enough to drive me crazy.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I think you just kind of at this point you just expect it. It's just like, oh God, it's just Tyler Wade. Yeah. I don't know what the hell he has hanging over Cashman that he's hanging around, but
I don't know. But
I mean, I'd rather see Dietrich make the team with a lefty bat. I mean, it's I'm not saying Dietrich is like the be all end all, but the guy can hit.
You don't need him. You don't need him. You got Jay Bruce.
Not anymore. I think he opted out.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a decision on that yet, but I mean the strange thing is that Bruce has not been seen with the Yankees for like a day and a half now, and Dietrich was in the lineup tonight, and then he was scratched.
And they yanked him, so he's probably opting out too because they both had opt-outs.
Yeah, so
Bruce is probably hanging out with Kyrie Irving
somewhere on that flat Earth thing.
Listen. You got Gardner too, the most overrated Yankee in the last 20 years.
Look, I'm not gonna accept any Gardner slander. I think the guy. Look, he stinks in the postseason. Yes, we know that.
He did good last year. He did good last in 2020.
I have no problem with Brett Gardner, man. I mean, like you know what? I'd rather a guy like Brett Gardner than a guy who's gonna play fucking 40 games and strike out 300 times somehow in those 40 games. I don't know. I always like Brett Gardner. I can't complain. Rocco, you haven't said anything yet. Let's talk Mets rotation, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Kevin on it. I really don't want to talk Mets rotation. I agree. I think people. I mean, I have alarm bells going off in my head when I see this. With it's the same story as always. Well, if this guy does this, if this guy does that, if this guy stays healthy. Right now, it's DeGrom and a bunch of 4 and 5 starters. Stroman.
And pray for rain.
Yeah, right. No, and they have Taijuan Walker too, which we didn't mention before. But I forgot
about him.
But he's like Kluber and Jameson Taillon. What are you going to get out of him? You don't know what you're going to get out of him.
Just don't know. You don't know what the hell you're going to get.
Walker walks it. He walks a lot of guys too. Tyon Walker. I mean, ironically, but
the Mets. You look, the Mets are people are picking them in the playoffs. People are hopeful about a World Series. Put that rotation against what the Dodgers have. I mean, it's not even
these people who are picking the Mets for the World Series are smoking crack, because I look at them and I see an 86-win team.
Yeah, I think they'll be right around their Vegas number, 90 wins. And you're right. It's, the Dodgers, they'll throw Kershaw, Buehler, Urias at you, right off the top. Dustin May, they're relying on those guys. Look at the Padres rotation.
Padres rotation. My goodness.
Stupid. It's
these are the teams the Mets want to be considered with.
Well, the Mets wanted to be considered with them. The Mets should have picked up Blake Snell, because
that's a good point. That's a good point.
They could have gotten Blake Snell. Blake Snell has a reasonable contract.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, and he really went for nothing. The Padres gave up nothing. The Padres managed to keep their entire. I think it was I'm not positive on this, but I think it was their all of their top 20 prospects, or maybe top 15 prospects, are still there with all these moves they made. They brought Darvish in, they brought in Snell. It's crazy. And then, one thing about them, they got Clevenger back eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's a ridiculous rotation. And then you have the kids, Paddock and the other kid. I mean, that team is going to be good, man. I'm telling you.
No, and you know what? You talk about the Mets rotation. The Mets right now, they're not better than the Braves.
No.
And honestly, you can make a really good argument with the improvements that the Nationals made. They're not better than the Nationals either. And
pitching wise?
Well, overall wise.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I think Schwarber's going to have a big year for them.
He's got a lot to prove.
Yeah, he pretty much has to have a big year. I think he's going to have a big year. And you know what? You can't really, after last year, can you discount anything that the Marlins are going to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are writing him off again this year.
There he goes.
There he goes. You can't discount what they're going to do.
Yeah.
My sleeper team in Major League Baseball, baby. I'm telling you, my Marlins, baby. My Marlins.
You
were so hyped last year.
I was so psyched.
You got to give them some credit. The only team in that division that I think really you don't have to worry about is the Phillies.
Yeah, that's true. Well, their bullpen can't possibly be any worse than it was last year.
No, and I think, honestly, I know he will put up some good numbers. I think Bryce Harper is the most overrated guy in the major leagues.
I'm going to agree with that. You know what, Rocco, Mike, yes, I'm in. I agree. What do you guys think about
most overrated guy?
Good. Just a question. I agree. I believe he's the most overrated player in baseball.
Based on how highly praised he is, yeah, I would agree with that. I would.
Okay. Rocco?
Yeah, same here. I mean, you start listing off the top guys in baseball. It's
I'm
you
telling
got Trout,
you,
Betts, Tatis, Acuna, Soto. You're going, you're getting down that list and wondering if Bryce Harper's in the top 10.
I have Soto as the MVP in the National League.
Do you think it's a coincidence they won the World Series after Harper left?
No. It was one of those ding dong, the witch is dead, the wicked witch is dead.
He's like Carmelo Anthony. He is not ever going to be.
God, you really had to do that now.
He is not going to ever be on a winning team.
With the NBA, and nobody cares anymore because it's a 3-point or nothing game. That brings me to our call from Joe Blow from Mudville.
Howdy, men. Joe Blow, calling from sunny East Coast Mudville today. Feels like mid-season, and I'm in mid-season form. Little quick housekeeping. Hey, I just got the invitation to the office holiday party. It looked like it was fun. I guess the post office must have lost it. Wish I could have been there. Appreciate it. Little off-season roundup, this Mets-Yankees thing with the Mets thinking that they're going to take over New York. Let's be crystal clear. The Mets could vaccinate every person in this country. They could solve world hunger, and they could give everybody $1,400 a month for the rest of their life. New York's a Yankee town. Stop it, Met fans. It's not going to change. Finally, and the real reason I called, because Joe Blow's got a little angry with this Rob Manfred rule change stuff. I'll be nice because it's preseason. Look it. If you want to change the rules because guys are too stubborn to change their game, maybe you should get guys that will change their game. Like, I'm going to ban the shift. Nah, bad idea. For Mets, they get to put a runner on third base in extra innings because that's the only way they're going to possibly get him in. Red Sox get a run. The Red Sox get a run. That's a new rule change. The Red Sox get a run, and they're the visiting team in extra innings all the time. New rule change. I just made it up. I like it. Since there will be fans in the stands, if a fan can hit the runner at second base with a wiffle ball from directly behind home plate, throwing it over the top of the net, game over, home team wins. New feature, just added it. And then any pitcher who can throw pitches with both hands in the same at bat automatically gets a $5,000 bonus and their team wins the game. Those are about as sane as what this nitwit commissioner, who will soon be replaced by Chris Vitali, now that he's campaigning, is proposing. I'm going to hang up. Joe Blow's pissed. Joe Blow's not in a good mood. Joe Blow should be in a good mood. It's 90 degrees out here in Philadelphia/Mudville. Joe Blow should be happy. Oh, and watch the Scudiero kid. I mean, it's good to sign the kids, but they're always looking to take somebody's job. Bye.
Those are some interesting ideas from Joe Blow, especially that in extra innings, the Mets start with a runner on third base as opposed to second. That's not bad. The Red Sox get an extra run. Is one enough for the Red Sox, do you think? Like, what do you think about what the Red Sox think? Just like giving away, a generational player like Mookie Betts, and the Red Sox actually just are pathetic now. So let's talk about them for a second.
Well,
Anyone who wants to start.
They don't seem to have any real direction. So
what are they doing?
Yeah, they don't seem to have any direction. Maybe things will turn around. Listen, it's not like Bobby Valentine.
It's not going to turn around like that.
Listen. Look what happened. Bobby Valentine managed them a couple years ago, and the following year they went back and won a World Series.
Well, that's true, but they also had who was running the show at that point, Dombrowski?
Yeah.
They had an adult in the room. Now, this kid from it was the kid from Tampa that's running the show, and he's running the Red Sox like they are the Tampa Bay Rays with their budget. What the hell is that, Mike? What is that?
Well, I don't know, first of all, because that's just not the way the Red Sox should be run. But honestly, I see some people like getting really edgy on Twitter saying that they think the Red Sox are actually going to be good this year. I don't understand how you say that. I don't get it. I don't like their bullpen. I don't like their offense. I don't like their rotation. I literally like I like no aspect of their team whatsoever. No. So, I mean, I don't get it. And I don't know how you run a major market team like the Red Sox like that, an organization like that. I don't get it.
Listen, they ran the Mets like that for 20 years.
That's true, but I mean, maybe it's because I'm a Yankee fan too, and the whole rivalry and everything. But I don't know. I typically in my mind hold the Red Sox to like a higher regard with that. I just do, and I find it hard to believe it being run that way. But
is it Rocco? Is the Mookie Betts trade the worst move since Babe Ruth?
I don't know about that. I mean, it's but it was brutal. I mean, you don't trade, somebody like that. He's a lifetime player. He should be a Jeter type. Somebody where you associate them with their one franchise the whole time. But I'll say something positive about the Red Sox. I'm not as down on their position players and particularly their infielders as much as everyone else. The pitching stinks. I think there's no way around that.
Yeah.
But I like Dahlback as a possible rookie of the year over at first base. He could hit.
Okay. I believe that.
Signing Kike is okay.
That was a good move. Yeah.
His role's better on a very good team where he could play that utility guy and be that clutch player. But, he'll hold things down. And Divers and Bogarts is a good left side. So, I always did like Verdugo on the Dodgers too. out in the outfield. And,
yeah, but Verdugo's got something to prove, though, too.
yeah, there's nobody that's going to go out and be an MVP candidate, I don't think, in that group. But, who knows? I mean, maybe Devers or Bogarts could put up those kind of numbers. But, they won't be awful to watch from an offensive standpoint, I don't think. But, I mean, they're not going to – I can't see them possibly challenging anything.
No, but I think their pitching is going to get lit up. I mean, it
Right.
doesn't matter if you lose 100 games, 15-10,
Right.
you still lose 100 games, I mean, it's –
Yeah, but you know what? They still have a lot of credit built up. I mean, what, they won 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was only a couple of years ago.
yeah, so they have a lot of credit. I mean, people aren't going to go completely nutty if they have a bad year. They've won more often than not in the last 15 years.
Well,
I think that people,
unfortunately for me.
Yeah. I think people will be patient, or fans up in New England will be a little bit more patient than they would been, say, if they're Met fans or Yankee fans. How many? The Yankees have won once in the last 20 years, and they haven't won in, now it's going to be 13 years, and we're approaching some records with them. That's from 63, from 63 to 77. We're talking about from 77 to 96. So I mean,
yeah, we're getting there.
It's a long time. It's a long time, and you can win 100 games every year, and if you don't win the World Series, does it really matter?
Well, that brings me to a different point, which is now with the Yankees, is this lineup built for the postseason? Is this brand of baseball built for the postseason?
No, and you've already seen that. They don't know how to hit. They hit home runs.
I know.
And
DJ LeMahieu only comes up once in the order.
But you know what, Chris? All these Yankee fans
times in the order.
All these Yankee fans who were squawking about the Astros a couple of years and the garbage cans and everything
else. They hit for average. They still hit for average. I'm not a fan.
How many runs did the Yankees score in that series? You could
remember the last 2 games. Remember those last 2 games? They didn't score at all. They didn't hit.
You could complain all you want about the garbage cans and this and that, but you didn't do anything when you were up.
Nothing. I agree. Nothing. And that needs to be addressed. I mean, like, what? Look, I have no doubt that Aaron Judge could hit. When he came up, he was hitting for average. Now he's just hitting home runs. Gary Sanchez, we know, stinks. He's going to hit 170 with, 25 home runs and not be able to catch a ball that's thrown to him.
If that. And what's going to wind up happening?
I know.
They're going to wind up starting Higashioka behind the plate, and he's going to be borne out over a whole season. You're going to see that he's not a full-time catcher, a full-time player.
I still think, and Mike, I don't know if you agree with this, but I still think letting Austin Romine go was terrible. I mean, I thought Austin Romine was whenever Gary got hurt, and one thing I was saying, okay, Higashioka is, he comes up, he's got a little pop, but he can't hit. He's not going to hit for average or anything. What do you think? What's up with Robinson Chirinos, by the way, Mike? I know he was around.
He fractured his wrist. He's not going to be back for a while. Yeah, if that hit by pitch in spring training, he got hit in the wrist and it fractured. He's
honestly
out for a while. No, he's.
I watched him last year with the Mets.
Yeah,
he's awful. He couldn't fly out of the boat and hit water.
He was bad with the Mets. He was bad. It's bad.
No, I know he stinks, but I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, can Austin Wells just move up through the ranks? I mean, is he? Can we?
Well, I think at most, I think Austin could maybe use like another year or so development because he was literally just drafted. But I mean, if they absolutely need him, I think they're likely to go with somebody like a Rob Brantley for a third string right now because he also had a good spring, so I think that helps him. But
guys like Tyler Flowers are out there too, still that you can.
If
you need somebody, you could pick them up.
Yeah, if you want to look elsewhere, that's definitely an option. But speaking just within the organization, I think right now, if you want to stick within the farm, you could look at Rob Brantley. Or if you absolutely need him, like even if Rob Brantley's to get hurt, then you might. If you're not to go out to get somebody like a Flowers, which I think is more realistic than calling on Wells right now, then you'd really have no other choice.
Yeah.
But because with Chirinos out, there's really no other options. But
I think it will be interesting to see if you get into the middle of May and you're pushing towards Mother's Day, and Sanchez is hitting 170 with 3 home runs and 9,000 strikeouts and 47 pass balls, and they got to have the guts to actually sit him down or or send him down or try and move him or trade him, because at that point, this
is it. I mean, I really believe that this is the year. This is it. This is his last chance with the Yankees.
I've said it. I've said it a lot of times,
and it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah, I've said it a lot of times on my show too. I truly think 2021 is his last chance, and I don't blame the Yankees for being that, or fans for thinking that way, because we haven't really seen Gary play at a great level since 2017. When he had a fantastic year. So
I know.
But
yeah, figured them out.
Yeah, it just comes to how many chances we're going to give somebody. No matter how much potential you hear about, how many chances you're going to get. But me personally, even though I'm rooting as much as anybody for Gary to have a good year, because if he has a good year, that means my team does that much better.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to root for the guy to do badly. But me personally, just as Kevin just said, if he's having a disastrous year, like maybe 2 or so months in, I'm going to start thinking really negatively already, because he's got to go out there and really have himself a good showing, because a lot is on the line here, like his whole career, as a matter of fact, because there's how many years are you supposed to give somebody? That's the question you have to ask. And I think this should definitely be his last chance.
I agree with you.
If you're a lousy catcher too, nobody's gonna. Even if the Yankees get rid of him, nobody's gonna pick him up to catch.
Exactly.
And if he can't even DH because he's hitting 175, where's he gonna go?
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. Like not only that his Yankee career would be on the line, but I said even like, what about just his career? If he's that bad,
true.
then this is his last chance, not only for his Yankee career potentially, but for his whole career. So he's got to go out there. If you ask me, I know some guys could be slow starters and this and that. No. If you're Gary, you got to go out there and, in my opinion, explode as soon as possible.
Yeah, there's no slow start allowed for him.
No.
I mean, and look, I mean, I get the point that catchers develop a little later than most other position players. They do. I mean, if you really think about it, think about Buster Posey. When not everybody can be Buster Posey. That just comes up and is a great defender, can hit. A lot of these guys, you look at like a Romine. He just got a starting job. What is he, 32? These guys, it takes a long time to learn.
Yeah, but that was partially due in part to the fact that he was playing for the Yankees and they were so hell-bent on making Sanchez work.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, he. You know what? I mean, he got better as he got a little older. A lot of catchers do, man. A lot of catchers just mature a little bit later.
Well, you also have to remember
their defense and running a pitching staff, and there's a lot to that position, man.
You also have to remember that Gary, I think, is on the verge of being 30 himself. He's not exactly a spring chicken.
He's like a 28-year-old or 29, right?
Yeah. He's nearly 30. So like So if you want to use the young age thing, he's not old, but he's not young. He's not like in 2016 when he was like 25 years old. He's older.
You know
now.
what? He's not a catcher. That's the thing with Gary Sanchez. He's not a catcher.
Hey, I got another one for you though, Mike. Who's Cole going to pitch to opening day?
Well,
they already announced that it's going to be Gary. They confirmed that. But I mean, I listen. All I know is that whether it was truly a Gary or Higashioka thing, when Cole pitched to Higashioka last year was some of the best I've seen Cole pitch. I mean, he was unbelievable. And he had his good starts with Gary, but I mean, we're going to see if it makes a difference.
Rarely.
But the Yankees did confirm that it's going to be Gary on opening day. That's confirmed. So
that's going to be interesting then, because they did not form a great tandem last year by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, whether it was a Gary or Higashioka thing, I mean, you can't argue with the fact that when he did throw at Higashioka, he did a very good job. That's
markedly better.
That's statistically true. It's not a matter of opinion.
I don't know what the numbers were, but I know. I think his ERA was like 2 points lower throwing Higashioka down the stretch.
Yeah.
I'm not positive, but
and Cole talked up Gary positively a lot. So I really don't know.
What's he going to do? Shit on him in public?
Well, no. But I mean, or you just maybe choose to just like dodge the question. I don't know. But,
there's that too.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know how much of a thing it is with the two of them, but his numbers were, and it's statistically true. It's not a matter of opinion. He was better with Higashioka. So,
ladies and gentlemen, the final thoughts. We're going to do something different. We're going to start with Rocco with the final thoughts. See, he's not even looking up. See?
I'm doing some research for my ombudsman role.
All right. Well, you can get back to it. Give me your final thoughts on this, our first spring training roundhouse of 2021.
I want to use my final thoughts on the recent passing of Dr. Bobby Brown. And, it's crazy to me when some of these super old former players die. You look back, Dr. Bobby Brown, first of all, now there's only 2 people alive that played during the 1946 season.
Wow.
Eddie Robinson played a bunch. A guy named Johnny Groth played 4 games. That's 75 years ago that Dr. Bobby Brown was playing. He was teammates with guys like Red Ruffing, Frank Corsetti. Those guys were teammates with Babe Ruth.
Yeah, they played with Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, it's just crazy that there's still people around that are like one step removed from the Babe Ruth era. So sad to see him pass away. He was a Yankees legend, baseball legend, and that's where I want to end my final thought there.
Absolutely agree. And I did read something yesterday, when he did pass, that he had told his wife to be, tell your mother I'm going to medical school and I'm studying to be a cardiologist. Tell your father I play third base for the Yankees. It's a pretty great line, man. I mean, come on, that's a pretty great line. And I did see him at the last Old Timers Day that I was at, and he trotted out and he looked good, man. So definitely rest in peace, Dr. Bobby Brown. Mike Scudiero, let's go with you. Final thought, baby.
Well, I'll use it just overall consensus on the Yankees, considering opening day is like right around the corner, so I think it's appropriate. But I know like the thing that it's going to come down to this year, as it does every year, it's been the story for the Yankees for years now, is health. They've got to stay healthy. I know they already have Zach Britton out for a couple of months. I think they can make do with that. If you want my honest opinion, obviously it's a big blow because he's the setup guy. It's a big deal. I think they can make do with it, though. The one thing that I feel the Yankees did a pretty good job with this offseason, if nothing else, was acquiring a lot of depth. So I think they can handle it. As far as the starting pitching, you're going to be seeing with the Yankees what you're going to be seeing with a lot of teams, a lot of inning eating and a lot of inning limitations, not only because of people coming back from injuries, but because of how last season was. There's not only going to be innings limits on guys like Kluber and Taillon. You're not going to see Kluber be his usual 200 inning self from back then. Not going to happen. But that doesn't mean they can't be effective. So the starting pitchers are a lot of pitchers around baseball, not just the Yankees, are going to have innings limits. But if they stay healthy, because there's that risk attached, because they haven't pitched much, as you mentioned, in the last couple of years, both of them. Taillon being last year, but if they stay healthy, then they should be efficient. Maybe not like godly, not what they were before, but they should be at least efficient. Okay. And as far as the offense, lay off the low and away slider. That's basically what I have to say about that, because it just makes me delirious. But
isn't it? It's everybody. Well,
yeah,
like Sanchez, Stanton, Judge.
I basically
they can't hit it. They can't hit it.
Or at least like lay off it. I mean, if there's one person that's
stop swinging at it.
If there's one person that I have to say has done a bit better with it this spring, it's been Stanton. Stanton's been a bit better with it.
I think Stanton is set for a big year, man. I've been saying it, and I still think he is. And
with Judge and Stanton, we know what they could do. The key is to stay on the damn field. We know that. That's what I've been saying. It's the same story that has been for years with the Yankees. It's health. Stay healthy.
Absolutely.
So if they do, I foresee great things for this team, even though there are risks attached in certain areas of the team. But if they stay healthy, they're gonna do great.
I agree, and it doesn't hurt that the rest of the AL East just basically handed the division.
And the whole AL, the AL overall is much weaker this year. So
I agree. Well, I mean, I had really strong feelings for the White Sox.
Me too. But the Jimenez injury.
Losing Jimenez is huge for them.
Yep.
Huge
And it's not a little
I
amount
still
of time.
think they're going to be good, but man, I thought he was going to have a breakout year. This was going to be his year.
And he probably would have, and he's not going to be out for no short time. He's gone for 5 or 6 months. So
no, I know that's a bad injury.
Yeah, it is. So those are my final thoughts.
I like it. And last but not least, Kevin Czerwinski with the final thoughts. Bring it, baby.
Bring it. Well, I'm going to kind of go a little bit where Rocco went, and not so much talk about Bobby Brown, but talk about Joe Altobelli, who this month. I knew Alto when I was working at BAM. I covered a lot of international league stuff, and I was up in Rochester all the time, and he was doing play-by-play up there. And you couldn't want to even meet a nicer guy. Helpful, knowledgeable, and I think his passing, along with Bobby Brown's passing, highlights something that a lot of players today and a lot of younger fans don't get. They don't know about the history of the game.
Yeah.
They don't know what came before them or who came before them. And I think that's part of why baseball has kind of lost some of its luster and become more of a regional sport. You know, when I was a kid, baseball wasn't a regional sport. Baseball was the sport.
It was the sport.
Now it's third behind football and basketball. And, you know, you take a guy like Alto, who in the 50s, he set the Florida State League consecutive games hitting record, and he held that record for almost 60 years.
Wow.
And he went on to manage in the Orioles system. He managed the 71 Rochester team that had Bobby Grich and Don Baylor and a whole bunch of other guys on the team. They were considered one of the greatest minor league teams ever. They won the International League. They won the Junior World Series. You know, he went on to manage the Orioles to their last World Series.
Yeah.
Was it 84, 85, somewhere in there?
Yep.
Or 83. And he just very underrated, understated guy who doesn't get nearly as much credit for the things that he accomplished as he deserves, because he had a big impact on a lot of players during their career. And that's the kind of stuff that doesn't show up in a win-loss record. And that's the kind of stuff that doesn't show up in, you know, my batting average or whatever. Or, you know, nobody knows what's going on truly in a clubhouse or on a field in spring training or something.
That's true.
Regardless of what they may tell you. And from everything that I've heard, from everybody that I've spoken to, from the writers who covered him as a manager, to the people that worked with him up in Rochester, to the players who played for him, he was like a father figure and had patience and was a great teacher and a great motivator. And, you know, he's a guy that's going to be missed.
Yeah. That's definitely sad, man. It's these guys, they don't come around that often, you know. I mean, and you know, we've seen over the last year how many people we've lost, you know. I mean, just not just at the major league level, but guys like Alto and things like that. I mean, it's you know, I like what you said about, you know, not so many people know about what came before them. And you know, I like every now and again when you get to see a player who does appreciate that and does just speak to that and really understands the game. And you know, again, like with the three of you guys, that's what we try to do. You know, we try to remind people like what happened before. And you know, I appreciate all three of you guys for doing this and coming on and doing.
That's why we call Wilbur Wood during dinner, Chris. That's why we call Wilbur Wood.
I still it's great when I interview my guys and tell them, explain the site and what we do. These, you know, former players are so grateful that we're trying to, you know, keep their stories alive, spread their stories to a younger generation of fans. It's great. It blows my mind because when we were kids growing up, we didn't have any kind of internet. What we had stories from our parents. We had the giant baseball encyclopedia with a million pages, and that was it. Sporting news and those, and you know, and Phil Rizzuto's stories and Ralph Kiner. And now we have all this information. You can look up anybody, and it seems like people know less. So it's great to keep the history alive.
Absolutely. So now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in 2021, I would like to present our ombudsman, one Mr. Rocco Constantino. And he's going to tell us what we fucked up because that's what he does. So go ahead.
All right, couple age things. Joey Lucchese, 27.
Okay.
Not exactly young, but not exactly old, right there in the sweet spot. Jordan Yamamoto is 24, though. He's a young guy. Gary Sanchez was 23 in 2016. So really young, and 27, I'm sorry, it was 2016. He was 23. Garrett Cole, 3-1 with a 1.00 ERA pitching to Higashioka last year down the stretch. So not so much a correction, but we were wondering on those stats.
Yeah.
Edwin Diaz, 0.0 ERA this spring, 1.75 last year. Kevin's right. He's turning the corner. Chris and Kevin both correct on Frank Tanana being a strikeout and non-strikeout pitcher. He had the great quote, he threw 90 in the 70s and 70 in the 90s. Reinvented himself. Always loved that quote. And then one final fact check on Czerwinski being absolutely correct. The Wilpons are horrible people. So at least anyway. So chalk that up there. No correction needed.
That's outstanding. Guys, I want to say thank you. This will be the first of many of the BallNine Roundhouses for 2021 to pull the old Dennis Miller move. Thank you and good night.